Thursday edition PFT OT, the time that we can get into things we didn't have time to get into during PFT Live. And since you and Rodney Harrison were spending so much time coming after me for my picks of the best number 2 receivers in the NFL, we didn't have time to get to this. The new look for the Washington football team. They've given us a glimpse of what the helmet's going to look like with the logo gone, with the numbers on the side, oversized numbers in that yellow that they have on their face mask and on their pants sometimes. This is going to work, right? They kind of stumbled and bumbled their way through this offseason, dealing with the name, getting rid of a name that had to go, getting rid of a logo that had to go, trying to find a new name, not being able to handle the legal side of things in a timely fashion, coming up with a placeholder that I think is going to take root and people are going to like. And I like the uniform. I like the name. I like the dynamic. It's different. And there's just something about it that works, even though it's just the result of one mistake after another, Chris.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, as they say, right? And, I mean, this is one of those instances. First off, I'm a sucker for numbers on the helmet. You know, whether it's Alabama, right, in college football, that just looks good right there. Damn, that's Landon Collins, I believe, number 20. I mean, it's just it's a good color combination, and I like the big oversized numbers. It's cool this year. We got the Chargers and the Washington football team going to have numbers on their helmet. And, you know, as far as Washington's concerned, I've always loved their uniforms. I've loved the color combinations. I think they're very unique. But I, as time has gone on, and really, we never really got to discuss this when it was first unveiled, I never really had a huge problem with this name, the Washington football team. I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of old school. First off, the W is, you know, it looks good. It's kind of old school in its look there. You know, and why do we need a nickname? I mean, why? The Washington football team, I think it fits perfect for in the nation's capital. There's a team that, yeah, no, we're just the Washington football team. We see soccer teams do it across the world, and I mean, I can't even name, you know, what's Barcelona's nickname? I mean, what's Real Madrid's nickname, you know? So, I mean, you can certainly pull it off and still sell merchandise and things like that.
The one caveat that I would add to that, and let me just first say I agree with you, and I think if they make it to the playoffs this year, they will keep the name longer than they would have. The name that is no name longer than they would have. If they make it to the Super Bowl somehow, some way, and we've talked about the other screwy seasons over the past 40 years, 82 with 9 regular season games, Washington won the Super Bowl. 87 with the strike and the replacement players, Washington won the Super Bowl. If they would get to the Super Bowl, I don't think they're ever going to change it, at least not until the franchise bottoms out and they feel like they need to kickstart it again with a new name. My only concern is this, Chris.
Yeah.
And it's not an issue this year because fans most likely won't be at the games. The problem is if you don't have another name, ideally 2 syllables beginning with R, you're going to have people that still refer to them loudly as the name that is gone, especially when they sing the fight song. You can't sing Hail to the Washington football team. It doesn't fit. So that's the one concern I have. And you know,
good point. I never thought of that. You're right. It'll encourage people to use that name.
And I could see Daniel Snyder seizing on the fact that people like us are saying, hey, we kind of like this team with no name as a way to kind of passive-aggressively finagle it so the team that is no longer known by the offensive racial slur is still kind of known by the offensive racial slur to those who still want to call it that.
Yeah, it never occurred to me. But you're right. I think it would keep that name probably alive a little bit longer. And you're right. The ones who want to fight back against, cancel culture and there's no such thing as racism in our country, even though 75 racist things happened, this morning. But okay. Yeah, you're right. That'd be an issue. So maybe that's why they can't do it. Either way, I'm excited to see how it works out this year and how fans do get around it a little bit. Like the W, even the way it looks right here on the bottom of our screen. It almost has like an old Ivy League football field. I feel like it's like we're back in like 1920, and we got a guy announcing the game that here goes Haskins around the corner. Oh, there goes the champ. Oh, they scored. Hey, like I feel like it looks like it'd be one of those teams. You like that? That was a pretty good impersonation, I thought.
That's pretty good. That wasn't bad.
Champ.
Based upon it's the only impersonation I've ever heard you do that doesn't sound like Phil Simms.
Right.
It's like Phil Simms after he took a shot of a helium balloon. All right. Here's the thing. They can have a name and still use those uniforms. You don't have to. I mean, the Alabama Crimson Tide doesn't have a Crimson Tide, whatever the hell Crimson Tide is on their helmet. They got the numbers. You don't need to have anything on there. Just stay with this uniform. Stay with that. Just keep Washington, and then you've got, whatever name they would come up with. That's your nickname, but you still look the same as you do this year. I'm telling you, for as bungled as this was, remember when there was that period of time where we're going to get rid of the old name when we have a new name, and then a couple of weeks later, well, you know what, we really don't have a new name, so we're just going to go with this for who knows how long. It's all landed in a spot where there is something kind of cool about it, how they look, and this Washington football team thing. And, however long it lasts, if they are competitive, it's going to be remembered as a special time in franchise history, especially if they come up with a name to take the place of Washington football team. So, we agree on this.
Yeah.
And it just shows you this, because people are like, oh, you hate the Washington football team. That's why you're coming after the name. No, the name was a racial slur, and they did the right thing in finally getting rid of it, even if they did the right thing for the wrong reasons, not because Native Americans were asking for it, but because sponsors put pressure on Daniel Snyder to do it. It has nothing to do with the team. I hope they do well. I like Ron Rivera a lot. I've got a ton of respect for him. I think that just like with the Raiders in the AFC, I think football is more interesting when the Washington football team is relevant.
Yeah.
Right? And they haven't been relevant for a long time, Chris.
No, I know. Well, yeah, and you're right. They're not. And that's what made the 80s great. I mean, it's why, early 90s and all of that. Yes, Washington, to me, is one of the, most precious franchises in all of football. And when I think of NFL football, they're one of the first few teams I think of, along that. And, I used to get chills at the old Giant Stadium watching the Redskins at the time, Washington, come out of the tunnel with that uniform and their mystique and winning history and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to where it goes. The one thing I love that fight song. So I hope they can find a name that can fit in there somehow, because that is one of the cool traditions in the NFL. And again, I'm so happy they changed the name because it was disrespectful and wrong and all that. But it is cool to be at a game there in Washington. And then, because you're not used to that in the NFL, to hear a band start playing and a whole stadium start singing this song, it's pretty cool. And I hope they can keep that tradition alive.
Yeah, and again, 2 syllables, first letter R, that's the way to do it. And we'll see if they can get that all worked out for 2021 or 2022 or whenever. This year it won't matter because the fight song is not going to be heard in the stadium most likely. All right, that's it for PFT OT. Chris, enjoy your long weekend.
Thank you.
As always, we'll be thinking about you tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be in touch all weekend long. And we'll be posting all day long at ProFootballTalk.com. We'll be back with another edition of PFT Live tomorrow. Everybody have a great day.
See ya.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.